Hi, welcome to today's video. I'm Jen Gottlieb, and today we're going to be talking about networking. Networking specifically for people who hate networking. Now, if networking is a dirty word for you, maybe you're more introverted or you just don't like going out and being around groups of people. It feels draining, it feels exhausting, it feels awkward, it just feels yucky and weird, and you always want to leave early and just get home and put on your sweats and put your hair in a top knot and watch TV with your dogs. I completely get it. And I have had to figure out how to make the most out of every networking scenario because I'm that person. I'm an introvert. So if you're an introvert and you're watching this and you think that everybody loves going out to parties because everybody's extroverted and everybody loves going to the dinner party and making new friends because it looks like everyone makes it seem so easy, that is not true. I'm one of those people that has to gamify and hack every network scenario to get myself out there to go do it. It's kind of like going to the gym. You don't necessarily really want to go ever, but you know that when you get there and you put the work in, you will get great results. With networking, I always have to say this mantra to myself: Jenny, I know you never want to go, but you're always happy you went. Sometimes I have to coach myself like that up until the moment that I walk in. And you might not, this might be surprising to you. Like you might see like my videos or look at my social media and think that I am the most extroverted person because I'm out and about doing things. I honestly am the person that has that moment where I secretly hope that the event gets canceled every single time. Or my brain starts to think of ways that I could make excuses to get myself out of said networking event, even if it's like a really exciting dinner or show or whatever. My insecurities, my just natural introverted ways just doesn't want to go do things like that. It's not in my innate way of being. It just isn't. I guess that's, I mean, there's a lot of different definitions out there for what's an introvert versus what's an extrovert. And many people say, and is what makes the most sense to me, that introverts are the type of people that generate more energy when they're alone. So they can go out and make connections and make relationships. They're not necessarily super shy. They can do it, but they expend a lot of energy. Like their battery gets drained a lot faster, and then they need to go be alone to recharge their battery. And alone time is the most recharging and most comfortable place for them to be. While extroverts really get a lot of energy and joy from being around people. And if they're alone too long, they have to go out there and energize themselves with other people. And there is no right or wrong way. They are both right. It's just whichever way you are. And you just need to, I think that self-awareness in this scenario is the most important thing to know. Okay, where do I get the most energized? Am I not the person that naturally likes to go out there and meet people and gallivanting around the party, making relationships? If that is not me, how can I make networking a little bit more enjoyable? Or how can I hack the scenario or gamify the scenario to make it work for me? Because listen, I will tell you that the most incredible opportunities, connections, relationships have come from me pushing myself to get out there and go be at a damn event that I didn't want to go to, or be at a party that I don't want to go to. Being home on the couch or with people that you're really comfortable around, that you're always around, and just being like cozy and comfy, that's awesome and it feels really good. But unfortunately, nothing happens when you do that. Like nothing exciting. I used to, for a very, very long time, I would pray for something exciting to happen in my life. I would sit at home and I would be like, it's so ironic. I would sit at home and I would be like, God, I hope a really magical miracle happens today. But all I would do that day is everything that I would do every day, which was, at the time I was a personal trainer, go and train my clients and then go home and go to bed early and wake up and do the next thing the next day. And I would get invited to stuff, but I would often say no because I was so awkward and uncomfortable in social situations. And I just never really had, man, that real strategy. It is kind of a strategy, or the knowledge of how to go into a networking event and make it work for me and make it actually, dare I say, fun and fruitful, and understand the value that happens on the other side when you put yourself out there in that uncomfortable moment in order to push myself to go do those things. So I started thinking about ways that I could take my introverted self and gamify, I guess you could say, or hack my way to maybe possibly enjoy networking, or at least always remember that there is so much magic that comes from putting yourself out there into an uncomfortable scenario. So, introverts, buckle your seatbelt. Just sit where you're sitting. Well, I don't care. Or you might be walking, you might be exercising. I don't know what you're doing while you're listening to this, but pay attention. You might want to take some notes because these 4 hacks have helped me so much. I can go as far as to say as they've completely changed my life. And without these, I would have not had many of the opportunities that I've had in my life in business because opportunities come from people. And if you're not putting yourself in situations to meet people because you're too introverted or you're too afraid or you feel like you're an imposter or you just don't feel good enough to be in a room and that's holding you back from getting there, or dare I say, you're just lazy and you don't feel like going out, that happens all the time, then you're not going to open yourself up to those amazing opportunities that are waiting for you. So let's get into the first networking hack, especially for introverts. And that is a very common quote that I have to remind myself of. I did not make up this quote. This is not mine. I don't know who originally said it, but it is so freaking powerful. Do not try to be the most interesting person in the room. Be the most interested person. Now, many of us get caught up in thinking about what we're going to say when we introduce ourselves to people, or how we're going to impress people, or what's our one-liner, or what's our pitch, or are they going to like me, or am I impressive enough to be here? How do I make myself interesting? What stories should I tell? Me, 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 me. And what that does is it makes us completely and totally obsessed with how we sound and how we look. And when you walk into a room thinking about that, you're not even yourself anymore. You're performing for people based on what you think that they want. And then you've got that thirsty energy. Like, look at me, listen to me. It's just a yucky feeling. I think that you can probably think of a time when you've done that and think back to it right now and think about the way that you felt when you were doing that. I can think back to a time right now when I was so concerned about telling the best stories and being the most liked and introducing myself in the right way. And I remember feeling so uncomfortable when I left that networking event, and I didn't even really get that much out of it. I just felt kind of gross. I felt like I was performative. And I walked away not really knowing much about anybody there. So there wasn't many relationships that I could build from it because my follow-up game was really lame. I spent the majority of the time just worried about me and how I sounded and how I looked. And it was really inauthentic and it just felt gross. The cool thing about this is that many of us worry so much about what we sound like and what we look like and if we're telling the best stories and if we're really interesting. And the truth is that everybody else is also feeling that way. Everybody in the room is feeling the exact same way. I would guarantee you, even the most successful people in the room have at least a hint of thinking, I hope these people in here like me if they don't know anybody, right? I hope that they're worried about how they come off. So we can actually switch this whole thing around to, in fact, make each person in that room feel so freaking incredible when they're talking to you because you are giving them that confidence that they're so desperately needing by just being interested in them, forgetting about you and being as curious as possible about them and genuinely listening and intently being curious about what that person is saying, asking follow-up questions, saying that lines like, so what I'm hearing you say is, really genuinely looking somebody in the eye and allowing them to speak and be heard and be seen. Because everybody's favorite topic is themselves, especially at a networking event. If you can sit there and let somebody talk about themselves and ask them questions and be genuinely curious and interested about what that person has to say, that person is going to walk away from your conversation and think that you are the most fascinating person they've ever spoken to. It's their favorite conversation of the day because you gave them an opportunity to be seen and heard, and you gave them confidence in themselves just by listening and asking questions. And the cool thing about that is you don't have to worry about performing and talking about yourself and thinking about a great thing to say. You're just thinking about being interested in someone and learning about someone. And this hack will lean into my last hack later when we talk about the follow-up. So my job whenever I go into a networking scenario is to be focused on being interested in people, so much so that I can figure out ways that I can help everybody or at least a couple of people in that room, the relationships that I make, so that when I follow up, my follow-up can be really, really valuable and really stand out because it will be me remembering things about them that they told me. So my job is to be a detective at networking events, ask people a lot of questions and make them feel seen, make them feel heard, be really interested. And the cool thing is that good communicators, if you're in a conversation with somebody and you're being very interested in them and asking them a lot of questions about themselves, if they're good communicators, they'll ask you questions back. And then you don't have to think about what to say. You can just answer their questions. And then it becomes an authentic conversation between two people. So stop trying to be interesting. Let go of what you look like and what you sound like and being worried if people like you, and be focused on making other people feel seen, being really interested in what they have to say. No preparation needed to do that. All right, so that's hack number 1. Hack number 2, announce your vulnerability. Now, some people may think I'm absolutely crazy for doing this, but this has helped me connect deeply with many, many of my now really best friends. I've been at networking events where I have felt awkward or weird or uncomfortable, and I didn't know this, but the person next to me also felt awkward, weird, and uncomfortable. And me sharing that I felt a little awkward and weird and uncomfortable immediately made us connect on a deeper level. So a lot of the times, everybody in the room or everybody in the conversation, especially if it's a networking event where not a lot of people know each other, everyone's feeling awkward, everyone's feeling weird. So if you sense some kind of weirdness, let's say there's like an awkward silence, or maybe there's something uncomfortable in the room, like it's really hot, or maybe you're wearing heels for the first time in weeks and your feet are hurting and you guys have been standing for hours, or maybe there's something really funny and weird that's happening at this event and like no one's talking about it, but it's really, really weird. You can just announce it and just say, okay, I'm pretty uncomfortable right now. Did you notice that? If you can just take down the facade and announce your vulnerability, like, "Oh, this is my first networking event in a whole year. And I don't know, I feel really nervous." And you'll know who you can say that to. Or I feel uncomfortable. God, I really hate networking. And usually the person next to you or that person, there's going to be somebody around you that also feels the same way. And you'll immediately make a new friend. I'm going to give you a really cool example that actually just happened to me. And it didn't happen in real time. It actually happened over a 24-hour span, but it's very, very popular, very, very powerful. Powerful, not popular. So I went to this networking event and it was a room full of really successful women. And I had a little bit of imposter syndrome when I was there. I felt a little bit uncomfortable. And you guys know now that I'm an introvert. And so going into a room like that, I have to use all of these hacks that I'm sharing with you now in order to get myself there. And I guess it's not performing, but like get to the end of the night in a way that makes me proud at the end of the day. I guess you could say actually not perform, be myself. But I was feeling nervous. I was feeling insecure. I was feeling like I was second guessing my worthiness of being there. And I think that that's just a normal thing that happens to people when you find yourself in a room with people that have done a lot of really cool things. And I'm not saying that it's the right way to feel. Probably not, but it was the way that I felt. And I ended up obviously sticking it out, using all of these things that I'm about to teach you, get to the end of the night, get home, get in my bed. I woke up in the morning with a bunch of new friends and a really great experience. I didn't want to go to it. I felt a little bit like an imposter. I felt very uncomfortable, but I moved through it and I wrote a post about it authentically. Like I wrote honestly how I was feeling instead of just posting a carousel of all of the images from the night and saying I had a great time. I just didn't feel good about doing that. I felt like I did have something happen to me that was something that I think happens to a lot of women. And I think that it would be much, much more valuable if I shared how I honestly felt about being there rather than just saying like a highlight reel kind of a thing like, oh, this was so great. Look at all my great pictures. I had such a great time at this thing. Because it was a hard moment where I learned something. So I decided to share that I had those thoughts, that I felt like I wasn't enough, that I had a little bit of imposter syndrome, that it was uncomfortable for me to be there. But I was yet again reminded that whenever you just show up, you're always happy you went because, I met people that I would have never met. In fact, we were all in it together. There was a lesson that I learned, XYZ. It was a whole post about that. And because I announced my vulnerability, because I shared what a bunch of other people were thinking that I didn't know they were thinking that, I got several DMs from some of the women that were there that said, I really resonated with your post. Thank you for writing that. I was thinking the same thing. And then I deeply connected with those women and then we exchanged numbers. We're going to hang out. It's a great way to connect if you just allow yourself to really be human in those scenarios. Everybody's thinking the same thing. Like, listen, everybody poops. Everybody poops. Every human being in the room, the most beautiful, successful, I don't know, the most influential people that you are around. If you go to a room like that and you're like, oh my God, who am I to be here? Remember that everybody in that room poops. I know that that might sound gross and you might not want to think about them pooping, but if it really does help, reminds you that we all have insecurities. We all do. We all sometimes feel not good enough. We all sometimes feel like an imposter. And hopefully everybody that's there has pushed themselves past those limiting beliefs to get themselves there. So you're all there at this place. There's probably other people in the room that feel the same way as you and or feel a little weird about something. It doesn't have to be networking and be feeling uncomfortable in the room, but maybe it's something else. Maybe it's you're really uncomfortable in your shoes or the show that you watched at the beginning of the thing was weird and no one was talking about how weird it was. Maybe you just share how weird it was. Announcing what's really going on can help create connections. That's number one. That's number two. So number one is be the most interested in the room, not the most interesting. Number two is announce your vulnerability. And hack number three is to go in with a goal. Now, this is where I gamify the entire situation. I am definitely the girl that likes to do you call it an Irish exit. I don't know why it's Irish. I have no idea. This is not about any of that. It's just called an Irish exit. You leave early, you don't tell anybody you're leaving, and you sneak out. Now, I used to do that all the time, but I would have a lot of FOMO when I would do that because I would feel like, man, maybe I should have stayed longer. And then I would feel guilty all night long for leaving early. And it was like almost like I didn't win that night. I went, yes, that was a win, but I left early and it just would always feel uneasy for me. So I decided that I was going to only allow myself to leave early if I achieved a goal that I had to set before I went out to the event. So I make it a game for myself to give myself a little bit of a prize. And the prize is once you've accomplished the goal, then you can leave. And what it started happening when I started doing it this way is when I would leave, I would feel really proud of myself. I would no longer feel FOMO for leaving early. I'd be like, I did it. I came here. I got it. That's a win. And then I accomplished the goal. So what kinds of goals can you have when you go to a networking event? Some types of goals that I set are I need to take at least 5 selfies with people here. That means that I need to have a conversation with at least 5 people to get to the point where I can take a selfie with them. Sometimes the goal is I know one specific person that's going to be at this thing. I want to have a meaningful conversation with them. Sometimes it's, I just want to connect deeply and exchange contact information with one person. It could be that simple. Or maybe it's, I'm going to stay until dinner is over. Maybe it's a dinner party and I stay until dinner is over. I don't, once dessert's about to come out, I can leave. I stay until dinner's over. Or maybe it's, I'm going to connect with 5 people here. Or maybe it's, I'm going to ask the host to introduce me to 3 different people in the room. Think about whatever it is you're working on, whatever goal, if you're really stretching your networking skills, make the goal a little bit harder. And if you're going with another friend, maybe the 2 of you are going together, maybe set a goal for each of you. Maybe you can really gamify it and you can both go off and do your own goals. So I always love that, going in with a goal, achieving the goal. And once the goal is achieved, then you have full permission to leave. So that way you don't feel FOMO-y or weird leaving early. You've done it. You've done the thing you came to do. You're leaving on a high note. You're leaving on a win. Go in with a goal. And if you're just starting out, make the goal really simple. And if you're an advanced networker or you have real specific goals from that event, then make it a little bit more challenging. And then last but not least, hack number 4, the most important one. If you don't do this one, then none of it even matters because then it's just an event in time that goes away. The follow-up. And most people follow up wrong. So hack number 4 is to follow up with value. Now this goes back to number 1, which is to be the most interested person in the room. So your goal at this event is to be so interested and find out information about people so that when you follow up with value at the end, you're not following up like this. Ready? Here's an example of how to follow up wrong. Hey, Sally, it was so great meeting you at XYZ event. I'd love to pick your brain one day. Hey, Sally, it was amazing meeting up with you at XYZ event. Can I take you to coffee? No. You might think that that's good, but that's not. If I get like a message like that, most likely will get ignored, or let's say, sure, one of these days, and then, you put it in the calendar and then it gets canceled, or you never really follow up, or you never really make it happen. How many times have you actually gone to coffee with somebody that you followed up with like that and said, let's go for a coffee? I don't even know. I don't even know if I've ever done it. I've said it. I've never done it. I've never actually made it to coffee because there's not enough buy-in yet from either party to make that happen and make it be a priority. And then the pick your brain thing, I'm going to do an entire YouTube video about why you should not ever say to somebody, I want to pick your brain. That's next video, a whole video about that. So your follow-up should be some form of a value add. And this is what makes you stand out from all the rest. There's going to be so many emails from many people at that event that are emailing, texting, messaging that person saying, love to meet up for coffee, love to pick your brain, let's stay in touch. Here's my Instagram, let's follow each other. Very simple. What you're going to do because you watch this video and you know the networking hack that's going to skyrocket your relationships and make them go faster is you're going to follow up with some form of value from the thing that you learned about them at the networking event. So it could be very simple. Let's say you have a conversation with Sally and her son is 8 and has his championship soccer game the next day. And she's talking about how excited she is for him and how nervous she is for him. You find out that Sally's son's name is Brandon and he's going into his soccer game. And maybe you, in your follow-up email, say it was so amazing meeting you. I'm cheering on Brandon for his soccer game right now. And I don't know, maybe you can even send over, like if they live near you, or you can even Uber Eats or DoorDash, like a cute little cupcake that says, go Brandon with a soccer ball on it or something like that. That's thoughtful. If someone did that for me and I met them a few nights before at a networking event and they remembered that my kid had a soccer game and they remembered my kid's name and they sent me something just excited about that thing that was happening in my life, I will want to meet up with that person or continue a relationship with that person. Let's say you're having a conversation with Dan and Dan says, oh my gosh, I'm new in town. I just moved here. And you're like, so, oh my God, what are you into? And he says, I'm a foodie. I absolutely love restaurants. And you guys are talking about your favorite restaurant in town. And you're saying, Dan, you have to go to this restaurant. You really want to connect with Dan? You want to build a real relationship with Dan? You know what I would do? I would email Dan. I would say, hey, Dan, loved our conversation. Loved meeting you. You'll see attached a gift card to the restaurant that I was talking about. I'd love for you to take your wife there and experience it. Boom. Yes, that does cost a little bit of money, but if you really want to build a relationship with someone, that is an amazing way to just put another coin in your relationship bank account and make a deposit. That someone did that for me, and I immediately met up with that person a couple of weeks later just because I was like, that was above and beyond. I want to be friends with people that are above and beyond, that remember things like that. So there's so many different ways to follow up with value, but it really hits home when it is about a conversation that you had at that specific event that most people wouldn't remember. So a cute hack for you, it's cute, it's a good idea for you to do when you're at the events is like either right when you're done, or you can even go to the bathroom, take a few notes in your phone about the people that you talked to and about what you talked about. Just jot down like really, really quick, like has his son, Brandon, who's going to go play soccer tomorrow, loves restaurants, going to recommend them to this sushi place and send them a gift card, plays beach volleyball. So you recommend this new volleyball league that is happening down the street from my house and ask if he wants to go play volleyball in a week or so, things like that. So follow the value. So let me wrap these all up for you. My introverts who hate networking, I'm really hoping that if you use these 4 hacks, you will start to develop your networking skills and actually, dare I say, make your networking experiences fun and, more importantly, just be a gigantic win for you. Because when you can start to understand that when you go out and you do the things that you don't innately want to do and you put yourself in the uncomfortable conversation or in uncomfortable situations, you grow, you create opportunities, you create relationships, you create all the good things in life. I know that sitting at home on your couch watching Netflix feels amazing, but it only feels amazing after a couple of days full of putting yourself out there. If nothing happens on your couch, yeah, you watch a cute show. Oh my God, why am I saying cute so much? You watch a fun show, but if you want magic, if you want excitement, if you want spontaneity, if you want opportunities, you got to get out there. And if you hate getting out there and it's uncomfortable for you, this is why I've made this video. So number 1, you're going to be the most interested person in the room, not the most interesting. Number 2, when you can, announce your vulnerability, share how you really feel. Number 3, you're going to go in with a goal, pick a goal that's, challenging enough. And then once you've accomplished that goal, you can go home, you can exit. And then number 4, always follow up with value. Follow up the right way, follow up with value. So I hope that this video was really, really impactful for you. Next time you go for it, actually, here's what I want you to do. I want you to, obviously, if you've already subscribe, like the video, but take the link, copy the link, and text the link to yourself. This is what I do with all my YouTube videos that are really valuable for me, and I want to watch them again when I need them. And the next time you have an networking event that you need to go to, I want you to click on it and watch it one more time just for quick coaching, maybe even listen to it in the car when you're on your way to the event to remind you of these 4 hacks. I hope that it helps, and I will see you at our next video. Bye.